Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to New Worlds November. This week we are doing robots, and I have read another robot story. It is called I, Robot, published in 1939, January 1939, in Amazing Stories, and it was written by Eando um, Binder. Now, Eando, it's Eando, Eando, were two brothers. Was it Edward? Oh, I've almost forgotten now. And Otto Binder. And they wrote under the pseudonym Eando, sort of something like the uh, S&A film production company in the late teens of the 20th century that Charles Chaplin did a lot of films for. But anyway, this is called I, Robot, and it predates the book by Isaac Asimov. Asimov didn't want uh, his book to be called that, but the publishers decided to call it that. Asimov found this story and others of robots by Eando Binder very interesting, and it prompted this one here. I, Robot prompted him to write his own story. Robbie was the first um, robot story that he wrote, and I read it out of this here collection. It's Editor's Choice in Science Fiction. It's compiled by Sam Moskowitz. We've seen this before, but it's by the McBride Company, New York, 1954. And the stories were chosen by the editors of the magazines. And at this time, it was Howard Brown was the editor of Amazing Stories. Now, I, Robot is an interesting story. It's somewhat autobiographical. The robot is writing his story, his autobiography in a sense, to set things straight because he's been misunderstood. He says, uh, and it starts out with him coming alive. My creation is the first section, and he's been created. He's the first of his kind, the first robot, the first thinking robot of his kind that's created by a retired scientist professor who lives more or less in seclusion out in the country or outside of the city. And uh, he, the robot sort of becomes conscious. He is almost like a baby, a child. He has to learn. So he learns language, he learns how to walk, and he learns how to read. But with literally within weeks, he has surpassed sort of knowledge of any adult human. And his creator, his name is Dr. Link, gives him a name, Adam Link, and he's like Adam decides that he's going to stay with the professor for the rest of his life, and serve him. And the professor says, well, I will die, you will live on. And he says, well, he'll find someone else, to another master to serve. uh, but he continues to read, but an accident happens. Well, first of all, the cleaner comes in and faints and is hysterical when she sees the robot. And the gardener comes in and he's flummoxed as well, and he thinks it's a trick that that it can walk and talk, and that he thinks there's a phonograph inside him, the robot that's to make the sounds as if it was language. He finds it hard to believe that the robot is real, but it is. And as I say, tragedy strikes. Well, um, the robot Adam is reading, a large part, a bit of machinery falls off a shelf and hits the doctor on the head and crushes his skull and kills him. And the robot Adam feels a bit guilty for this because he bumped into that shelf while he was learning how to walk, and he loosened it, and he figures that's why, and they never fixed it. So that's what's happened. So while he's examining the doctor, looking at him, and he lifts his head a little bit, he gets blood on his mechanical fingers. The cleaner comes in and screams and thinks that he has murdered the good doctor. And so the cry goes out, the police. So he runs, and there's a little dog that sort of has become attached to his little mechanical friend. So the dog goes along with them, and he's hiding, but they keep catching up. And um, the whole posse of people after him with pitchforks and torches. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Uh, but yeah, so he runs and runs, and they're shooting at him, and he realizes that if it hits a bullet hits a vital part, he will, it will damage him or kill him. He doesn't want that to happen. The dog, his faithful dog, finds him after he runs away even faster. Finds him again, and then but the mob finds him as well. And he also, like, while he's running away, he sees a little girl dangling her feet off of a dock, or off into a little pond or some water. And his mechanism makes a bit of noise, so she turns around and gets scared and falls in the water. And he realizes that she's drowning, so he goes to grab her. He grabs her by the wrist, but his strength, he breaks her wrist, then he holds onto her leg. And um, and they he is seen doing this, and they think that he was trying to drown the child, when he's actually trying to save her. So he's setting all this to rights in his little memoir. He's writing this and saying, what really happened. I'm not evil. I didn't kill anybody. But he can see how this, it looks. So he runs again, and they're shooting at him, and they kill the dog. And he is quite distraught by the death of the dog. And he realizes that he goes back, like he's was running around a bit in circles, but he winds up back at the laboratory of the old professor's house. He goes into the laboratory, the workshop, and the body is gone. But he starts looking around a little bit, and he finds a book, Frankenstein, and he wonders why it was hidden. But he reads it, and he understands why the doctor had hidden Frankenstein from him. So he's finishing up writing his story, and he's gonna basically commit suicide. So he's gonna turn himself off. So it's like, he ends his little story saying, that I do have the feelings that you say I don't have. I'm not evil and all this kind of thing, and the implication that he switches himself off, and that's where the story ends. And to all intents and purposes, he's dead. He thinks he's dead. Well, he thinks he's going to die. But this was the first of about 9 stories that were put together in a book. It was written over the next 10, 15 years, I guess. 9 stories, and they were put together in a book called Adam Link Robot. And the second story is Adam Link on trial. Basically, he wakes up, and he wonders why he's woken up. But it goes through a whole bunch of stories with the character, the robot Adam. And I just found it a fabulous story because for 1939 it was unique for a robot. It's from it's in the first person. The robot's telling the story. He's accused of everything that robots usually have been doing in the stories, killing their creator, or trying to, and killing other people, turning on their creator. And so he's, that's why there's scenes that are basically right out of Frankenstein. There's more of the movie than anything else that the people would have been familiar with probably, and they could envision the exact scenes there. But also in the 1950s, there was a Outer Limits that was made from the first two stories, the I Robot and Adam Link on Trial. I think it's a longer name than just on Trial, but and it starred Leonard Nimoy, Spock from Star Trek. So another Star Trek connection there. So yeah, so I just it's, as I say, it fits in well with a very good seminal robot type story, and all the rest are good too. I'm gonna use the thumbnail of Adam Link Robot in one of the books. I found a cover, and it's part of the cover, so I'll use that as the thumbnail. But yeah, and as I say, that influenced um, um, Isaac Asimov to write robot stories, and he took it even further. And I can even see aspects of Clifford Simak's stories, robot stories, in these. And Eando Binder, they broke up. The writing team broke up, and Otto Binder continued to write under even Eando Binder's name, but he also started working for Marvel Comics, and he was instrumental in creating Supergirl and a bunch of other Marvel comics. He began writing a lot of comics. I don't know that much about, and even less about his full biography, but even less I know about him writing the comic books. It's sort of like the Edmund Hamilton, who also went into comics as well, which was in some ways a shame because they were very good writers of science fiction, and they never really got to their full potential. I don't think that they would have done over the years if they would have continued writing. Otto Binder died in the 70s, in late 70s, I think it was, or mid to late 70s, and his brother died in the 60s at some point. But yeah, so there you go. There is the second story that I've read for New World's November Robot Week, and I'll be back again hopefully tomorrow with another one. I started reading just a little while ago the All the Traps of Earth, which is a Clifford Simak. Excellent. Anyway, we'll get to that. Excellent robot story, as a lot of his are. Anyway, take care, BookTube, and I hope you're enjoying New World's November and getting into the spirit of things and reading AI or robots. Most of the short stories I'll be reading will be robot short stories. Take care, BookTube.